Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. It's that time of year for recruiting. Spring visits starting to wind down. You've got official visits being scheduled throughout the summer. And then also some top 5s, top 8s, top 12 schools are getting trimmed off of these lists. We're going to break down some of those. We're going to get into it, but they're not always relevant. You look at a top 12 list, you look at a top 10 list, you look at a kid like Trey McNutt, the number 1 safety in the country, dropped the top 8. Tennessee was listed on that. Do they really have a shot at Trey McNutt? Highly unlikely. Sounds like more A&M, USC, Oregon, Ohio State for the number 1 safety in the country. But there's some other lists being dropped the last week or two that are relevant. And it is good to see Tennessee make the cut and continue trying to build this class of 25. We're going to get into a couple of guys I think Tennessee does have a legitimate shot at landing. We're going to break down their recruitment, see where they're at. But as always, I need you guys to do me some quick, easy stuff. That YouTube stuff. Hit the thumbs up. Think about subscribing, clicking that bell for notifications so you don't miss out when we go live or when we drop a video. If it's your first time on the channel, welcome. We're not experts here. We're not insiders. This channel is for the fans, by the fans. So if you like what we do, get dialed in. Come hang out with the Talkin VAWLS Network. We'll be live tonight, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to play some NCAA 14 revamped. We're going to have a good time. We're going to tell jokes. We're also going to talk all things Tennessee football, whether that's spring camp, whether that's looking ahead to the orange and white game, whether it's recruiting. We'll do it right here tonight, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Always a good time hanging out with the Talkin VAWLS family. Then we'll be live tomorrow night, Wednesday night. Myself, Coach Jay, Coach Rice Dauber should be back in the house, taking you all the way up to that orange and white game. What we're looking for in that final scrimmage of spring camp. Also hope to see you guys down there. Going to roll into town around 10 a.m. on the orange and white game Saturday, hanging out in G10 parking garage. So I hope you guys will come join us for that. But let's get into it. Bo Jackson, class of 25 running back, one of the top 5 running backs in the country. I think he's the only uncommitted running back in that top 5 as of now. Put out a top 12. Tons of teams there you can see, but Tennessee very much in this thing. And I think Tennessee does have a realistic shot at landing the elite athlete. 6 foot, 204 pounds out of Cleveland, Ohio. He comes in as the 66th best player in the country, according to the On3 industry rankings. Now, Bo Jackson is a guy that visited Tennessee back in March. He has that connection with Coach Sims. Coach Sims was recruiting him while he was at Cincinnati, so they continued that relationship. He wanted to come to Knoxville, see what Tennessee was all about, and he liked what he saw. And that's, when we talk about recruiting and how it's fluid and things change, and as I'm talking about Trey McNutt, the number 1 safety in the country, the closer you get to that decision day, the more you realize whether or not you have a realistic shot. And when we talk about a guy like Bo Jackson, it starts with getting them on campus. The relationship with Coach Sims allowed you to do that. He liked what he saw. Now the question becomes, can you get him back on campus for an official visit this summer? That's not been scheduled yet, but I made a video talking about some of the elite prospects, and I showed a clip of Chad Simmons and Steve Wiltfong over at On3, and they're talking about whether or not Tennessee can land that top 10 class in 2025, and Bo Jackson was a guy that Steve Wiltfong mentioned. Now, I also wanted to talk about Bo Jackson today because 247 Sports, they did update. They do have a scouting report on him now. So I wanted to bring that to you guys. It says here that Bo Jackson is one of the best offensive skill players in the Midwest at this stage of the evaluation process, with the ability to succeed running between the tackles or outside in a modern offensive scheme. Owns a physically imposing college-ready frame, verified 6 foot, 205 pounds. Ability to stack cuts together to find green grass in the open field is extremely impressive considering his size. Now, as I go through this scouting report, you got to be excited, right? This Josh Heupel's offense is a run-first offense, and it's all about utilizing space, creating the numbers advantage on the inside with the wide splits. You get an elite athlete. I mean, we saw it with Jalen Wright. We're going to see it in 2024 with Dylan Sampson. Can Bo Jackson see himself in this offense? The ability to make guys miss. Goes on to say routinely showcases impressive contact balance and consistently runs through the arm tackles. Elite short area quickness and agility show up plenty on tape while evading defenders at the second level. Has been verified in the combine setting. One of the more productive junior seasons of any offensive skill player in the Midwest. Finished his 2023 season with nearly 30 touchdowns, 1,700 rushing yards on over 10 yards per carry. I think you show him Jalen Wright's numbers from last year. Come play in this offense. Says should be viewed as the type of ball carrier who can immediately carve out a role in a 2 or 3 man rotation and produce his mix of the size and encouraging athleticism. Likely needs time to master the small details of playing running back at the next level, but his best football is likely ahead of him, even though he is already one of the more physically impressive running backs in the 2025 cycle. So that's the scouting report from Hudson Standish over at 247 Sports. Just came out within the last week, so I wanted to bring that updated information. After he had the opportunity to make it in town, make it to Knoxville for that visit, this is a quote from him, said, "Experience at Knoxville was really good. Being there, seeing all the history up close, getting to watch the coaches work up close was amazing. My relationship with Coach Heupel, Coach Sims is what has me the most excited, but what puts it over the top was getting to learn their offense up close and how beneficial it is to running backs was second to none." Second to none, Bo Jackson says about this Tennessee offense. It starts with the run game. You add elite talent at that running back position. Again, you get the numbers advantage, and then your ability to go out and make guys miss. That's a home run threat every single time for Bo Jackson. But again, his recruitment really starting to pick up. He's got 7 SEC offers since January. So this is one that I think could be a long run to that decision. Recent trips, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss. Is he going to leave the state of Ohio? Seems like Ohio State may be the team to beat. But again, what you got to keep your eye on when we're talking about Bo Jackson is, does he return to Knoxville? Does he come back? Does he schedule that official? That's going to be something to keep an eye on. If he does, Tennessee definitely going to be in it for the 4-star running back out of the Midwest. Let's go take a look at another one. This one came out yesterday, I do believe. 4-star wide receiver Marcus Harris is down to 5 schools. Now, Marcus Harris is a guy we've really not talked a lot about or talked enough about, right? When we talk about wide receivers, you start with the 5 stars, the guys like Jamie French, Caleb Cunningham, who, by the way, Tennessee has a very realistic shot at landing. But you look at the wide board, the recruiting board that Tennessee is looking at the wide receiver position. We've talked a lot about the 5 stars. We've talked most recently about Travis Smith, 4-star wide receiver out of Atlanta, Georgia. He's kind of that Cedric Tillman, Brew McCoy type body at 6'3", 200 pounds. And then the in-state kids, right? Cam Sparks, Rodarius Jackson. I think Tennessee in a very good place there. You've already got Joakim Dotson committed in the class of 25. I think you're sitting pretty for the in-state kids, Sparks and Jackson. Do you look to add just one more? And you've got some elite guys on the board, and that's kind of why we've really not talked about Marcus Harris enough. But when you look at him, 4-star wide receiver out of Mater Dei out in Santa Ana, California, 5'11", 180, just outside the top 150 according to the On3 industry rankings. Comes in at 152nd, 19th best wide receiver in the country. Now, he's a guy that visited back during the junior day. You remember, you go back to January, junior day, George McIntyre. We were hoping he would commit and then he would be here. Everybody would be living that buzz off of George McIntyre's commitment. The weather kind of threw a wrench at us. George McIntyre had to postpone his commitment. A lot of the guys that were supposed to be here for junior day didn't make it. They actually canceled it. But Marcus Harris was one of those guys that was flying in from California. His flight was already booked. His hotel room was already booked. So he came in, and it may have actually benefited the Vols because Marcus Harris and some of those kids from California that made the trip got a lot of one-on-one time with this coaching staff, and I think that helped Tennessee here. But he was also back in town last week. Unofficial visit to take in the second scrimmage of spring camp. Wanted to see that practice environment, right? January was more about relationships, hanging out with the coaches, but now that spring camp's underway, wanted to see that environment, wanted to see these coaches in action, got to see that, liked what he saw, and I think that's worth noting too when you talk about recruiting, especially with a kid that's coming from the West Coast, coming from California. He paid his own dime to get here in January, on his own dime to come back to see these coaches in a practice environment. I think that tells me that Marcus Harris has some legitimate interest in the Vols. You can see there, though, on the screen, top 5, Oregon, Alabama, Texas, Tennessee, and Georgia. And as you start to look at these lists and see where Tennessee's at with some of these players, they're in some big boy battles when it comes to recruiting in the class of 25. I think that shows you the difference in where we were 2-3 years ago. Tennessee is competing for some of the top talent in the country, and it's going to take a lot to haul these guys in. But I think, you look at the deep, how deep the recruiting boards are. You got to get excited about recruiting right now. He's already got official visits scheduled, going to be at Georgia, then Alabama, Tennessee on June the 7th, and then Oregon June the 14th, Texas June the 21st. Now, if you go to 247 Sports, he does have a crystal ball to Texas, and he's also got a connection to their wide receivers coach there. Chris Jackson also played at Mater Dei in Santa Ana, so we'll see how much that plays into it. But what his plan is for Marcus Harris wants to take his official visits throughout the summer and then make that decision before his senior season of football, either August or September. But those were a couple of guys that dropped their top 5s, top 10s, top 12s that Tennessee deep in it with. Jump into the comment section. Let's talk about it. Can they pull down Bo Jackson? Can they pull down that top 10 class for 2025? I think they're in a good spot. But do me a favor, smash the thumbs up on the way out the door. Go check out the merchandise, bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. We appreciate the support. Also, if you want to give a little more, think about hitting that join button down below. You can become a member of this channel. You get a Power T beside your name in the comments and the live streams. You get access to custom Talkin VAWLS emojis, fan call-in shows, all kinds of fun perks and benefits. But that is going to do it for this one. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you have a great Tuesday. And I also hope to see you tonight, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, as we play a little NCAA and talk all things Tennessee football. But this is the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.